This is Amy Chan from CakeDecoratingSchool.com, and if you like cake decorating, you're in the right place. Today, we're going to be talking about some of the equipment that we use when baking cupcakes. This was a question we had in a recent live, and we just thought it was a good time to address it and talk about some of this, right? So a nice, good cupcake tray is a great place to start. Typically, I shy away from really dark metal trays. This is kind of a lighter one that's had a lot of heavy use, and it is actually coated. We do sometimes bake some of our items directly in them, so the nonstick surface helps, but sometimes you can get metal trays without the nonstick coating. They're a nice light metal, and those will work too, especially if you're going to use liners. So what type of pan specifically you use is a little bit up to what you're going to bake with and how versatile you need it to be. Typically with cupcake liners, usually if you buy standard size cupcake pans, and we like the 12 counts, it allows us to turn them in the oven and really control the baking versus larger trays that have 24 or 48. And typically the openings in them, if they say they're standard size, they'll fit the standard size liners. Occasionally, sometimes, depending on what brand of things you buy, you can get stuff that doesn't quite match up. So I want to talk about the dimensions on the liners and how they're listed online. So that bottom area, right? A lot of times you'll see there's the full diameter, so 4.5. There's the height of the side, which is 1.25, and the bottom, which is 2. So you want to make sure that lines up with your pan. So if you're ordering something, especially if it's online and you can't view the visible product, you want to make sure you're ordering the right size paper, because they do make things like minis, right? And so ending up with these when you're trying to bake something that size, it's not going to work out nicely for you. And some of the brands I've gotten over the years, like this part will be a little smaller, and that can make them bake up a little funny. You want to make sure it's taking up all that space down there so you get nice full cupcakes, right? So it's just a good thing to kind of double check your pan size and make sure whatever you're ordering, it's going to be compatible, right? These tend to be packed pretty tightly, so every once in a while you'll get some that may not release well, or they might wrinkle a little bit. It generally doesn't matter, right? And anytime I'm scooping batter, I want to use a portion scoop. Sometimes people call them dishers, right? A lot of times you'll see them online listed as thumb release dishers. It's meant to use your thumb to press that to release whatever food you're scooping. So this one is usually listed as a number 24 red handle disher, and it holds 1.33 fluid ounces typically. You do want to make sure it's usually an industry standard, so it doesn't matter what brand you buy. This one is a Vollrath one. There's some options online that are cheaper. Typically, they tend to be the same size. Every once in a while, though, you might get a brand that's something more decorative, and it might be a little different. So just check and make sure that those numbers line up. And this tends to be a good size for a standard size cupcake. But every batter is different and will bake up a little differently. So you want to make sure you get nice level scoops, and that will help you control the amount of batter that's going in and get nice, even, well-baked cupcakes. And typically with cupcakes, you want the batter to come about halfway up the sides of the pan. Right, so this is probably gonna do 6 or 7 cupcakes for us. We just had a little extra batter off of a project, and we thought it would be a good chance to go over these materials. So there are some more decorative papers that you'll see, especially online. There's lots of pretty stuff. Sometimes you can find the colored ones. Important thing to note is the colored ones usually change when they're baked. So these are red. When I bake them up, it'll absorb some of the grease and change that color. So anytime you're planning on using these, you want to keep the fact that the color will most likely change during baking. And if I did something like a darker cake color, like red velvet, it would accentuate the red. But if I baked something like chocolate or gingerbread or apple, it'll give it more of a brown tone. So it'll really, really alter the color more depending on what color the actual cake that you're baking is. So you want to keep those things in mind when you're using these. And a lot of people actually just use them decoratively and will put cupcakes baked in plain papers inside of those when they're displaying them so that the colors are actually more true. We're going to go ahead and pop these in the oven, and then we'll show you what they look like when they come out. So our cupcakes are baked and they're out of the oven and they've cooled, so it's easy to get them out of the pans. And you can see they just have a nice slight dome on top. It's not too rounded, so they'll be easy to decorate on. And the cake comes all the way up the sides of the paper, right? There's very, very little paper exposed at the top edge. So that's a nice amount of batter for our cupcakes. Gives us a great surface to decorate on, and the cake is nice and full in those little cups, right? So we get a beautiful cupcake every time by using good pans, good liners, and a great size scoop. If you like this video and you'd like to check out more about the equipment and materials we use for cake decorating, or videos that are inspiration for your own designs, please check us out on YouTube or Instagram at Cake Decorating School. And if you'd like to sign up for membership to our school, check out www.cakedecoratingschool.com.